Season 7, episode 10, the ladies are off to Seville. According to Alexia, we can't say Seville, we have to say Sevilla. So we are off to Sevilla with the Housewives of Miami. Now, if you remember from last episode, episode 9, they were all going to Seville because they want to help Alexia get over Todd. And Stephanie Sojo has a private jet, and she said that she can't take all the girls on her jet. So she's going to invite 3 other girls besides herself. So there'll be 4 people. She told Alexia she had invited Marisol. Marisol said she wouldn't go because her best friend Alexia would not be on the plane. So there was an open spot, and Stephanie put it out to the group. It looks like she was leaning towards Kiki as replacing Marisol and Alexia, but Kiki said, "Take Adriana. Since you don't know her, you can get to know her. I think it's only fair," which was very noble of Kiki. Now, a lot of people are not feeling Kiki. They feel like she throws people under the bus. She tells stories. But guys, this is a reality show. There's a producer. Kiki is the producer's pet. She wants to stay on the show. She wants to be a housewife. So she's just doing what they want her to do. She is the one who has to drop these little things because the producers put it in her head. Don't forget, guys, Kiki is a survivor. I don't know why people hate this woman for just trying to survive and eat and feed her children. She has no husband. She's taking care of herself. Who knows what she had to do to get to where she is in Miami. And now she's on a major broadcast and she's supposed to be thinking about Gertie, who's happily married, and if this show leaves her, she still has her support team. I mean, I get what people are saying, but I'm saying, like, think about Kiki too, right? Kiki needs to eat. Kiki's like, I'm securing the bag, and I'm not saying what she's doing is right. All I'm saying is I understand her point of view. She's securing the bag, and she's doing what it takes based on her situation and her circumstances. So, in my opinion, Kiki is the producer's plant. And what is a reality show without drama? It's part of the show. Okay, so the girls are going to Sevilla, and what we know is that there's one group going private and the other group are just flying commercial. Flying commercial is Marisol and Alexia, Kiki and Gertie, and Lisa. And then on the private plane is Larsa, Stephanie, Julia, and Adriana. Okay, so let's get into the episode. They're off to Spain. They're taking their respective flights to Spain. And the trip is about Alexia trying to forget about Todd. Okay, so the episode opens with Alexia packing to go to Sevilla, to Spain. I'm just going to say Spain because I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then she's saying her favorite part about leaving Miami is she gets to wear boots. And her son Frankie is there. We love Frankie. We love to see Frankie. He is Alexia's saving grace. And she's packing boots. Her son is like, those boots are ugly. And she said, yeah, Todd didn't like them either. Ugh, Alexia and her Todd. But, maybe that's how she validates herself by the man that she has in her life. So if she doesn't have a man, it's like something is missing. And you can see the house is like a really downsized house from where she comes from because you can see the neighbor's house right next door. So it's not some big, gigantic house. So she's kind of downsized quite significantly since we met her on the show. And I remember Julia used to be like, you think you're better than me because you're rich. And it's only because of Todd's money. And now here she is. She has to survive. If she did think she was better than someone because of money, so now she's questioning, who is she without this man? Who is she without the money and the security of a man? Some women have a very hard time dealing with that. They don't know who they are without a man. Then they cut to Gertie and her husband, Russell, and she's like packing for Spain. And he doesn't look too amused about her going to Spain. I bet he's like, I don't know why you're putting yourself through this drama. These women don't even like you, Gertie, but you want to be on this show. I'm not going to blame Gertie, too, for wanting to be on this show. This is a great platform for people who have small businesses. It gives them so much exposure, so much opportunity. This is something everybody looks forward to. So why wouldn't you do what you can to stay on Real Housewives of Miami? However, Gertie, I think that the way these girls don't like you, and it's so obvious to the viewers, that's why everybody's trying to ride for you. How is that really good for your health? When you're suffering from cancer, shouldn't you try to be more conscious about stress and not have so much stress in your life? And I feel like putting yourself in these stressful environments is not really good for your recovery. But again, the filming is maybe such a short time period and you can manage that, but you got to think also about your health and putting yourself into the stress of a reality show. And just to be transparent, I am not a fan of Gertie. I feel like Gertie is very annoying. However, I have a lot of compassion for her because of how she survived and how she handled her sickness. And I love how she's a fighter. I love how she's like, this is what I want and this is what I'm going for. And I feel like that's a really good quality, especially when it comes to things that are important. Sometimes you have to fight for it. I love that about Gertie. I mean, Gertie has to know these women don't like her and she's just inserting herself. And why not? She has every right to be on the show. If she's not winning, it's because of her. So she just is doing what it takes. And we cut to Lisa packing. She's so tiny. I feel like Lisa is like dresses like an ice skater. If you look at all her confessional looks, it feels like she's giving ice skating vibe. Like she went to the designers of ice skaters and said, "Can you make me costumes for my show?" And that's exactly what they did. I just wonder how many days they're going for because they have so much luggage. So we learned that Alexa lived in Spain for 6 years, from 17 to 23. She lived in Madrid. I've been to Madrid, very nice city, very cosmopolitan indeed. She says Seville is more older, laid back city. And so they bring up Lisa and her lateness. Is Lisa gonna make the flight? You know, you have to be there 2 hours ahead for an international flight, and we're not sure if Lisa's gonna make it. They cut to Stephanie Sojo's private jet. Okay. It has a double bed and a twin bed. It can sleep, I'm imagining, 3 people, 2 adults and a child. It has really nice seats. They show the gift bags that Stephanie has curated for them. Those gift bags are straight from Uline, so I'm not impressed by the gift bag. They say Soma Group, so she probably has them part of their marketing stuff. Anyway, in there, she has a infrared mask and pajamas with the name Soma Group. She gives each one of them as gifts. I mean, very nice gifts, great touch. Obviously, flying business class over a private jet. I'll take the private jet any day, as the girls say, because you don't have to deal with the lines. One time I took a private jet. You drive to the airport, which they have private airports just for smaller planes or private jets, and then you go to a whole different area. You give your passport to, somebody is handling things for the group. You give your passport and you just walk up onto the plane. No TSA, no taking off your shoes, no scanning you for metal objects. It is just wonderful. If you ever get a chance to fly a private jet, I say 100% take it, because and or maybe not, because when you do it one time you're like, I don't want to ever fly anything. It is luxury, especially for those long international flights. Private jets are perfect. And I'm not sure why Stephanie is always talking about her Birkins. It just gives like, girl. I know a lot of people who have Birkins, they don't talk about it all day long. It is what it is. You have a Birkin. So she's getting out of the car and she's wearing a terrible outfit. Terrible. She dresses almost like an anime character. That's the only thing that I can think of. And she has on the highest, pinkest shoes. The Birkin she has is, according to Bravo, a $70,000 Birkin that is huge, right? And inside it fits additional Birkins. I've seen someone with that Birkin before, and they are really nice up close. Beautiful bag. I didn't know they were $70,000, but now we know. So Stephanie enters the plane. She doesn't take off her shoes, and all the girls are like, "You're supposed to take off the shoes," because that's her rule. And she's like, "But it's my plane." But anyway, she succumbs. She takes off her shoes, which I'm believing she doesn't take off shoes. She was making a play for the camera. She typically probably doesn't even take off the shoes, right? Because again, it's your plane. If you want to, you can wear shoes. But she probably makes her guests take off their shoes just to make head games. And then she starts to give them the gifts in the cheap Uline bags. And Stephanie doesn't stop to remind the girls that they're very VIP because of the gifts that she's giving them and the pajamas that she's giving them. So she asks Julia, "Are you guys okay? Because I was concerned because aren't you guys fighting?" Julia and Adriana say that they have a little hiccup. She just was upset that ask her to come on the, insist that she would come on the plane with them. But Julia's like, "It's not my plane. I can't invite you to somebody's plane." I agree with Julia. It's not her plane to invite. I do think Adriana has a point because it's like if you were really good friends, like what Marisol did, Marisol's like, "I don't need to go on a private plane. I'd rather be with my friend." Right? I agree with that. But Julia is friend to no man. Julia is friend to Julia. And Julia's like, "I get to go on a private plane. I'm taking my chances." And of course, Larsa, well, she was always invited. So the shady producers asked Julia, "Did it ever cross your mind to not take the private plane so that you could be on a commercial flight with Adriana?" Shady Bravo producers, we love it. And Julia says, no, she would not. She was not going to give up her spot on the private plane to fly commercial. Now, this was a very interesting thing. Stephanie says, "I wish I could have invited everyone, but it was really hard because I couldn't invite Gertie." And she looks at Julia. So Gertie was never a consideration for this plane. And that's what I was trying to say. They don't like Gertie. Even the new girl doesn't like her. And it's obvious and it's sad. And I don't think it has anything to do with the black thing, although I do feel there are some microaggressions in this group. But Gertie is annoying. She is annoying. A few episodes back, Larsa and Lisa were having a conversation, private conversation. Gertie inserts herself, and they're like, "Gertie, we need to do this on our own." And she won't leave. And it's like she's like a gnat, like, "Come on, leave me alone." And I'm sorry, it's not about her being black or white or whatever. It's just she's annoying. And if you take out the color, I know this is not a popular opinion, but take out the color for a minute, she is annoying, okay? She is annoying, but that's how she's successful because she inserts herself, she's confident, she's loud, she's not gonna shrink herself for no one, and, that's what makes Gertie as successful as she is. So it may be annoying to me, to other people, but that's what has been her secret weapon, and it works for her. She has a very successful life. So I'm just saying it in terms of it's annoying, but it's a skill set that has empowered her, has made her the successful entrepreneur that she is to be able to provide for herself, to survive cancer. She's a determined, strong woman, and that is very admirable. In some areas of her life, that skill set is not valuable. Okay? And it's not valuable when it comes to this group of friends. So then they bring up Lisa and Larsa's fight. Are you guys cordial? Are you guys have you gotten through it? And Larsa says, "Well, she still hasn't unfollowed my ex-boyfriend. So I feel like if you're a real friend, you wouldn't be following someone who's trying to be mean to me." And I mean, Larsa, get over it. Do people, I mean, maybe this is why I'm not as successful as I need to be because I don't put so much stock into following people on Instagram and what that means, but maybe that's just my naivety. Larsa feels that because Lisa follows Marcus and she and Marcus are no longer friends, that's some strong meaning. Okay, it's a meaning because now Larsa has made it a meaning, right? So otherwise, I don't really think anybody would have thought much about it. But maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe it's social capital. Wani, get with the program. You gotta learn to play the game, ladies. If you don't know how to play this game, these girls are teaching us. Especially if you're defining success by, money, these girls are doing well. And they don't all have to be rich to do well. I feel like for me, for how I define success is I'm able to make wealth, make a living, doing things on my own terms, that for me is success. And all of these women are doing things on their terms. I'm going to clap for all of them. So Stephanie decides she's going to go put on her pajamas, get comfortable. I don't blame her. That outfit is awful. Those thick pink stockings in Miami. It must not be a hot time in Miami because that outfit looks so hot. Like you're sweating, you know? But Stephanie did step out of her brand new Rolls Royce straight to the runway of her jet. So she probably has no time to be walking in the Miami heat. She spends her days in air conditioning. Silly me, what am I thinking? Of course, she can wear winter clothes. So the other girls are flying business class to Spain, which is nice. When I went to Spain, I flew economy. And they all change into their pajamas. They have black and white pajamas. Larsa looks great in her pajamas. She has her nice diamonds with the black pajamas. She looks perfect. I love her jewelry. She has on a solitaire diamond. She has diamond bracelets and the diamond necklace. And it looks perfect. Everything except her face looks really well done, but you can just see from her face just all the lines and the heavy makeup, the fake lashes. But other than that, she looks good. I love Stephanie's manicures. Her manicure is just short nails. It looks very clean. It's not these clawed nails. I like that for sure. And then, so then they bring up the topic of Alexia and Stephanie. And Stephanie says Alexia belittles her. And in fact, not only does Alexia belittle her, Stephanie feels that Alexia belittles women. So Julia jumps in. She says, wait, do you think that she belittles you or she belittles women to make herself feel better? Because if you are saying it's you, then just say you. Because you saying women, I don't think that's a really good idea because that's not fair. You should choose your words carefully. And Stephanie's looking at her confused, like, bitch, what are you talking about? I bet Stephanie's almost like, I wish I didn't put you on this jet. What are you talking about? You're trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm saying about Alexia and how she treats me and women? But it says, you try to belittle me, you try to belittle women to make yourself feel better. Ooh, that is a very powerful statement. You try to belittle women to try to make yourself feel better. Do you guys know anybody in your life who is like that, who basically tries to belittle you to make themselves feel better? I'm trying to think if I know anyone, if I've met anyone like that. I'm sure that I have. No one comes to mind right now, but leave a comment below if you have had. Just say, put the comment belittle if there's someone in your life that you feel tries to belittle you to make themselves feel better. And basically, you had to cut them out of your life because they were just no good. But here's the key. These people are in a social circle, right? It's not a real friendship. It's a social friendship. It's like being friends with the parents at school, right? They're not your real friends, but they're friends you have to like be friends with because socially you need each other. I think this is what's happening here with these housewives in Miami. Socially, they need each other. They need each other for this paycheck. They need each other so that this show gets good ratings and that they're asked back and that the show gets renewed. The ratings are high, so they have to deliver on that promise. But at the same time, the show is about their life. I think their ego is also part of it, right? This validates her in Miami, the fact that she's been on this housewife show for so many years. She probably feels like it's my show. Julia comes to Alexa's defense. Be careful, she's saying. And Stephanie says, you don't speak English anymore, Julia? I said what I said, and I'm standing 10 toes down on it. So Julia says, I honestly don't think that Alexia belittles other women. This is Julia, who Alexia treated her so badly so many seasons ago when she wouldn't even sleep in the same room with her because she was afraid that Julia would try to come on to her because Julia was gay. Alexia said something about because Julia was Russian that she could be a prostitute because most Russians are prostitutes. That is what Alexia said. Now, this season, Julia is now saying that she's standing up for Alexia. Okay. Adriana says, what? You didn't see this woman belittling me for for 2 straight years, and you're saying you honestly think she doesn't belittle women? Julia is cooked because Adriana is starting to see Julia for who she is. The red flags on Julia are starting to pile up. You can see the tension building. She is saying, "Okay, you didn't keep space for me on the plane. Not that you couldn't invite me, but you didn't give up your seat because I couldn't be a part of it like Marisol did for Alexia." 1. 2, now you're standing up for Alexia and saying that she doesn't belittle women when she has been belittling me for 2 years, and you're saying that she doesn't do that? Oh, Adriana is heated. She is heated. Even she says, "Julia has developed selective amnesia." And then, of course, Shady Bravo producers bring up the prostitute thing. Roll the tape, guys. Yes. In 2022, Alexia told her, "You know how to be a prostitute because you're Russian?" But Julia has let go of the past. She wants people to leave the past in the past. She has moved on, and she's advising Adriana, "Move on. It's the past. Let it go. You're good with her." I guess that's how Julia copes. Okay, so Julia's totally riding for Alexia. She's saying she's going through so much with Todd. Right now, she can't take jokes. Why doesn't she have this type of empathy for her friend who's surviving breast cancer? Right? Why didn't she say, "Well, you know what? Gertie's dealing with a lot in breast cancer. So maybe this is why she's behaving the way she is. Maybe this is why she's not the Gertie that I am used to. Maybe that's why, because she's going through this." But for Alexia, she's giving Alexia all this grace. And this is what's pissing Adriana off. I don't blame her. This is what the audience is seeing. Julia, you're not winning friends. You're not winning the fans with this position. It feels like you have no backbone. It feels like, you're just going with the flow, going with whoever suits your narrative. And right now, it looks like Alexia. Yeah, Julia, she's like, "We're going to Spain for Alexia, and I need everybody to get along. Everybody has to kiss Alexia's ass." That's basically what she's saying. Oh, Julia, this trip, we know that this is not going to. I haven't seen the full episode. I'm watching it live as I'm recording this and reacting to it as we're recording this. But I don't really think that this is gonna end with people kissing Alexia's ass. But let's see. Okay, so they're twerking, listening to music. They look like they're having fun. What I found very interesting is then they go to sleep. They're wearing their full face of makeup. They put on these like infrared red masks that helps them with the altitude change. It's supposed to make them wake up feeling good and looking fresh and refreshed. But also, I found interesting that Larsa sleeps in the bed with Julia, and then Stephanie sleeps in the bed with Adriana. Again, Julia and Adriana are supposed to be best friends. They're not sleeping or sharing in a bed together, whereas Larsa and Julia are sharing a bed together. I thought that was a little bit interesting. Larsa and Julia are sleeping head to head, whereas Stephanie and Adriana are sleeping opposite each other. This is Adriana's head, and this is Stephanie's head. So they're sleeping like this. And they're off to Spain, and Julia is praying that they have a good time because it's all about Alexia, right? It's all about her Alexia, her new best friend. I think also why Stephanie couldn't take all the girls on her plane because she also had to fly the one cameraman that's filming them. Hello, think about that, right? Because they needed one or two cameramen on the plane as well if they wanted that footage. And thank you to Adriana, who is always giving us really good, valuable education. Spain has 5 different versions of Spanish. The official Spanish of Spain is Castilian, the one that has the list: Barcelona, Ibiza. Okay, that's the Castilian Spanish. I did not know that. Okay, so we learned from Adriana that the lisp comes from an old king who couldn't say the S properly or the L properly. And so it became part of the language thanks to the king with the lisps. So they arrive in Sevilla. They show cities, scenes of the city. It looks very beautiful, very old world, like you've traveled back in time. And they're staying at the Radisson Collection Hotel, which looks very luxurious. And of course, every housewife trip, the question about where everybody is sleeping comes in to play, especially because not the hotels have certain number of rooms and not every room will be equal. So they have one suite, the presidential suite, the presidential suite, and guess who's getting the presidential suite? Alexia, because this trip is all about Alexia, right? Th- This trip is all about Alexia so that she can get over Todd. So if Alexia doesn't feel loved and cherished by that group, then nothing is going to make her feel loved and cherished. And if this is going to her head, that it's all about me. This belittling people to make her feel good. So Julia's kind of perpetuating that because it's like, well, let's give her the better room because she's going through so much. Where was Gertie's trip when she was fighting for her life with cancer? I'm just wondering. Crickets, crickets, crickets. Where was her trip? Where is her trip? Where's her trip? Congratulations, Gertie, you survived. Maybe Gertie should show herself as weak and vulnerable. Then maybe they would think like, oh, she needs supporting. She needs us to be a friend to her. But because Gertie is choosing strength, maybe these girls just don't understand her to need them. Maybe she has to play the role of the victim and the poor me so that she can get some attention. Does that work? Is that how that works? And then, of course, Stephanie's husband upgrades her to a presidential suite. So Stephanie also has a presidential suite. So the hotel concierge says, I have a message for Stephanie. She's been upgraded to the presidential suite. And she's like, I wonder who did that. Masood, who apparently also just spoiled her for her 40th birthday with a Patek Philippe watch and something else. Can't remember, but it was check out her Instagram. I'm sure she gives you the detail. And I don't mean to sound like a hater. I mean, who doesn't want to have a nice husband that spoils them and upgrades their life, right? Where is my husband? I need an upgrade. So Stephanie walks into her presidential seat and it's covered in roses and Chanel gifts, she says. Rose petals all over the floor. So clearly her husband called in and made sure that when she arrived, her presidential suite would be ready for her and make her feel loved and special. And let me tell you, I think it worked. Although the presentation I think was a little bit tacky, the way they did the red roses in the vase, I think they could have done a better job with not have all that ferns. But maybe in Sevilla, that's what they do. They don't have that Miami glam vibe. It's just Sevilla, old world charm. There's a bucket of champagne and a bucket of wine chilling so they can make a toast to Stephanie. Maybe this is an extension of her 40th birthday that her husband is giving her. Adriana's recounting the story of how she has been wined and dined by men as well. She said, lots of men have done really nice things for you. Leave a comment below. What is the nicest thing a man has done for you? I want to know. But Julia is saying one of the nicest things that a man did for her picked her up in a helicopter, flew her to his private island. I wonder if this is Jeffrey Epstein. No, I'm kidding. Flew her to his private island in the Bahamas. There was roses and dinner on the beach and whatever. And shortly after the man died, flying back from his private island to his home in Palm Beach, he died in the helicopter. Oh God. But anyway, so Stephanie starts to open her gifts. One of the things she got were rain boots, and I'm not understanding the significance of giving her rain boots in Spain. It feels like it could have been something that could have waited when she got back to Miami. Maybe it's going to unveil itself shortly in the story why she got rain boots in Seville. Sevilla. He also gave her some necklaces, and the girls are admiring the gift. Meanwhile, they cut to the other ladies who just boarded the commercial flight, and they're calling themselves Team No Sleep, while the other people on the private jet slept. And it's not that long of a flight. It's probably what, 7 hours flight from Miami to Spain? I'm not sure, but I mean, you definitely would wanna sleep, but these girls didn't get any sleep because they had to fly commercial. And so, they're calling themselves Team No Sleep. They don't look refreshed at all. They look worn out. Well, this is a level of service I've never seen. They are unpacking for Stephanie. Now, is that a standard amenities in a hotel? And I'm gonna put that for my clients. So I book travel for clients as well, and I didn't know that we can ask for their clothes to be unpacked. Is it something that goes with the presidential suite, or it's just standard? Because I like that. I like that they are unpacking for Stephanie unless she brought this staff with her. Except, of course, not Tomas. Tomas from the hotel, but there were 2 ladies in the room in Stephanie's suite unpacking her luggage. I like that level of service. So, yeah, the private jet women are already there, they're fresh. The commercial flyers are sort of just arriving. They're in their outfit from since they've been flying. The private jet travelers have already changed. They're sitting at the bar, they're drinking, and of course, they're talking about Alexia and Stephanie's issues, right? And Stephanie's saying that Alexia needs to choose her words wisely. She's a grown woman and she needs to watch how she speaks to people. Julia is still defending Alexia, saying it's funny that two grown women are fighting over dog breeds. Meanwhile, you see Adriana, she's in the back and I think her blood is boiling, but she's not saying a word, but you can just see her blood is boiling. It's getting to a breaking point. I'm sure something's gonna happen soon. So the girls arrive. Kiki, Marisol, Alexia, and Gertie come in. They greet each other at the bar. And of course, they're remarking at, look at you guys, you look all dolled up, and they're just, worn out from the flight. Meanwhile, the people who took the jets are looking fabulous, sitting down, having a drink at the bar. And the first thing that Julia does is goes up to Alexia and says, we've been talking about you. And Alexia is like, I don't give a fuck about these people. I told you guys not to talk about me. Now, Julia, why would you do that? Why would you do that? If I was Stephanie, Julia would have to find her ticket back. She would not be welcomed on my plane. She'd have to fly back coach to Miami or whatever class of flight she flies. I think that was not nice for her to do that. And meanwhile, Stephanie's telling them, I never go anywhere without my husband. I'm always with my husband. This is my first girl trip. The only one time I've been without my husband was when I went to Colombia to get my breast removed. But I love my husband. We're so close. He's my best friend. And Julia's telling her, well, thank you so much for coming with us because you could be anywhere more fabulous with Masood. And then once she says that, and Stephanie, I'm sure it feels like, okay, we're making progress here. Julia directly goes to Alexia and throw Stephanie under the bus saying, we're talking about you. Okay, but we're here for the drama. So I'm not complaining as a viewer, but if I am Stephanie, Julia, you are taking a commercial flight back to Miami. Okay. That's the energy I have for Julia right now. If I'm Stephanie, so then we learned that late Lisa didn't even make the flight. When she arrived at the airport, the gate was closed. She had to get another flight and she had to fly through Madrid and then make a connecting flight into Sevilla. Late Lisa. Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. OMG. Really? But we kinda knew that, right? And then Stephanie has a smirk on her face saying like, Stephanie's like, "Ugh, I knew it. This woman is a mess. How does she live with herself keeping people waiting?" That's what Stephanie's saying, not me. I mean, I've been late. I'm not late like that at all. Drop a comment below if you're late like Lisa. Adriana heard what Julia said to Alexia, And she's again, like I said, that blood is boiling. Now she's Alexia's bitch. Oh my God, let me run to mommy and tell them what they're saying about you. And Alexia doesn't even look that amused that Julia is telling her. She's like, I told you guys not to talk about me. It's talking about Alexia. That's why Alexia feels she's the star of the show. She's communicating, don't talk about me. I told you guys not to talk about me. What is there to talk about, Alexia? I'm waiting. Put a comment below. What is there to talk about Alexia, guys? Am I missing something? What is there to talk about? The only thing I think people are talking Alexia about is how she is about Todd. That this woman who comes off as so strong, fierce fighting mother, right? Who was there for her child and fought for her child's health and recovery is now like totally succumbing to a man who left her, packed up his bags and left her and just still pining for him. I mean, and I don't blame her because many women I have pined for many of men who didn't deserve my pining, but not when I was this big age. Who is surprised that Elisa missed the flight? Leave a comment. If you're surprised, leave I'm surprised. If you're not, leave I'm not surprised. Stephanie asks, does Lisa ever look at the time? It feels like Lisa lives in her own world. The day waits for me. I don't wait for the day. So the girls decide they're going to go get ready and they'll meet later for dinner. And Julia decides that she's going to join them and catch up with them. Stephanie is livid, rightfully so. She's livid. She's like, This woman hasn't been off my plane for 2 hours. And this is how she repays me by going and gossiping to Alexia. Why wouldn't she let me have that conversation with her, give me that respect, especially because she wants them to have a relationship, right? I'm totally on board with Stephanie about this because Stephanie can talk for herself. She can say and defend herself. Julia's giving the energy like, I'm with you guys. Adriana's like, I'm looking at her and like wondering, who is this woman? When did she become Alexia's bitch? What's going on? I myself am confused by Julia's behavior. What is she doing? Who is this woman? Guys, Julia, Julia, Julia. Ooh, watch out for Julia. She is nobody's friend. Nobody's friend. Stephanie confronts Julia. Julia comes back. She's like, what have I missed? Stephanie's like, what are you doing? You're stirring the pot. Stir, stir away. Because you know what? And you're off my plane, bitch. I don't know if that's what she said, but she better say that. Let's listen. And Adriana is looking like, yeah. You see what I'm talking about? You see what I've been dealing with? Do you see what I'm noticing? This is the Julia that I'm dealing with. This is what I've been saying. And then Julia's looking like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I just said we're talking about you. I didn't say what we were talking about. Even Larsa had to chime in and say, why did you do that? Why did you do that? That's a very good question. Why did you do that, Julia? Are you watching? Why did you do that? We want to know. Stephanie's not happy and she cheers. He says, cheers to finding who your true friends are. Julia is now the pot stir. Stir, stir, stir. Stir, stir, stir. Julia's like, I'm going to get close to Marisol and Alexia. And she is acting like she doesn't know what she's doing by stirring the pot. She's like, I just said it, stir da da da. Oh, Julia, you know exactly what you're doing. We're not buying it. Okay, so Alexia secured the glam in Spain. They didn't fly with their glam. Okay, that's a little bit, probably a lot affordable. And Alexia did live in Spain before, so she obviously has connections. So what is even funny is because Alexia is like paranoid now because Julia comes up to her and said, "We were talking about you." And Alexia already is not looking at it like, "Oh, Julia's my friend," and she's trying to, tell me and inform me, but Alexia sees it for what it is. She's like, what am I supposed to say? Thank you for talking about me. You come up to me. I haven't even been here for a minute. And the first thing you tell me is like, oh, we've been talking about you." And I agree with Alexia. What are you talking about me for? Right? You're in a new country, new place. Talk about something else. Why me? So obviously, Alexia's like, her guard is gonna be up because it's like, okay, now you have something to say about me. I'm ready. Her guard is up. So Julia already is setting up the drama. So maybe Kiki and Julia are the producer pets. And Marisol's like, don't think the works, Alexia. Let's just see what they're saying. They have a funny part. I like this part. So Larsa Pippen, of course, brings her glam team. Her glam team, I guess because she saved money on the tickets because she flew with Stephanie. She flew her glam team out. She's getting calls from some strange number, and she's like, "I don't know, this guy keeps calling me and saying he has a crush on me." And then Stephanie asks her, "Well, do you have a boyfriend?" And she doesn't answer the question truthfully because Larsa Pippen knows how to play game. So she's like, "I'm gonna give you some advice, Lars. I want you to take it in the most loving way. Why not try to not date athletes? Just like date a businessman." And Larsa says, "Well, I like to go out. I'm not like you who wants to go to bed at 8 o'clock. I like to go out." Code word for Larsa has a libido. She likes to party and she's looking for a young stud. Larsa Pippen was married for many years. She was very young with children very early, while all the other people she knew were out there living their best single life. And so now that she's 40 something years old, 45, she is trying to live the life of a 20-year-old, that life that she kind of gave up because she got married young and had her family really young. So now she's living that life. So she said if she was given a choice between a 25-year-old and a 75-year-old and they had the same bank account, she would go with the 25-year-old because she's not interested in going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. I think that's kind of funny. Drop a comment below. Are you interested if you were Larsa Pippen's age? I know I have a girlfriend. She said that she does not want to date any young guy, right? I wouldn't date a 25-year-old, but I definitely would date a 35-year-old. I would definitely date a guy younger than me and over a 75-year-old, at least for fun, right? I mean, I don't know. If I was thinking of settling down, I definitely want an older guy. But to have fun, you want to have fun with a young athlete? Hell yeah. I know what Larsa's going after. I can totally relate to that. Stephanie is upset with Julia because she's like, she's very hurt. She's like, I trusted this girl. I was venting because I thought I was in a safe space. And for Julia to go to Alexia and tell our conversation. Now, Julia didn't do that, but Stephanie doesn't know, right? And also, that's the thing about carrying tea, right? Because you don't have all the information. So she has her guard up. Alexia has her guard up because she was telling Marisol, "Me, what are they talking about me for?" And so she already feels like she has to come in when they meet for dinner with guns blazing. And Julia is just there who has stirred the pot. And it's so ironic because she's saying, I want this trip to be all about Alexia and for her to have a good time. And then for her to kind of create this environment already is building the tension. It's great for us as the viewer because we're here for the drama. So give us some drama. And maybe that's, like I said, I think Kiki and Julia are producers' pets. Their job is to, give the producers stuff so they can keep their job, just poking the bear. Now, meanwhile, we haven't seen Lisa. Lisa's still in transit, and let's see what's gonna come of that, or if she's gonna miss the whole dinner. She probably is gonna miss the whole dinner. Okay, the ladies come for dinner to the Basque restaurant, and they're playing like Gypsy King music, the flamenco style gypsy music. Apparently, Alexia knows these people. Okay, so they hire a singer to sing a love song to Alexia. Alexia. So the singer starts singing and Alexia starts to cry. Meanwhile, Stephanie and Larsa are like barely can stop themselves from laughing. Meanwhile, Alexia's like, this is all about love. There's this passion. I guess it took her right back to thinking about Todd. She's brought to tears by the man singing, but it's a little bit comical to the rest of the group. Kiki looks like she's also about to cry. Meanwhile, Stephanie and Larsa says, "I don't know what is happening." They're singing and they're crying, and I am not feeling any emotion. Of course, Larsa Pippen feels no emotion. Well, it worked. Alexia was moved to tears. She and her best friend Marisol were moved to tears. And Marisol was like, "Wait a minute, what's happening here? It's not supposed to be a tear jerker." And the rest of the table is literally like laughing because it's like, i- it is a bit embarrassing. So then they start making fun of Julia and her language skills. So they correct her on how she says Sevilla. She says creative imaginations instead of creative juices. Adriana is correcting her. Adriana's a little bit annoying, okay? Because we know you're the most educated in the group. So we get it, but it's like, this is not endearing you to your friend when you're correcting her English, her expressions, her language skills, her vocabulary. It's probably a little bit annoying. Julia's saying, "Alexia, this is for you." And Alexia says, "Thank you. I've been through so much. If it wasn't for my friends, I don't know how I would make it. My friends are like my family. And thank you guys for all your support. I know we've had our differences, but this really touches my heart." And then Kiki, the producer, pet, chimes in, "Except for Lisa. Where is Lisa?" Okay, Kiki, thank you because the producers needed you to say that. But I mean, that is true. Where is Lisa? Kiki's carrying the storyline along. That is her role. So Lisa, because she missed her flight, she had to fly from Miami to London, London to Madrid, and there was no flight on time from Madrid to Seville, so she had to catch the train. And so she's on a train coming to Sevilla. Sevilla, Seville, Sevilla, Sevilla. Okay, we don't know how to say it. Seville. So everybody is like, how is she gonna manage taking her luggage on a train from Madrid to Seville? Sevilla. I can imagine like her little Lisa. But I mean, maybe Jody's with her. Maybe Jody's with her. What do you guys think? Do you think Jody made this trip with her? So they're mad. Now they're at dinner and they're discussing Lisa and her lateness. And it's kind of a critical point because Stephanie has an appointment with a designer who's going to make them local dresses, and they're wondering what are they going to do with Lisa's appointment. So Marisol suggests, well, put her at the end because maybe she'll make it by the end. And everybody starts chiming in about how she doesn't respect the friend group. She doesn't respect them because she's always late. And Stephanie's like, taken aback because thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie, apparently they've been upset with Lisa for years, but Stephanie took the leadership skills, brought up her lateness, and now the entire group has decided that this is unacceptable. Lisa doesn't respect them. She comes in whenever she wants. She's late and she has no respect for the group and it's not nice and they probably need to speak to her about it. And Alexia's like, "At least call us. We didn't even know that you missed the flight. We're sitting there waiting. Pick up your phone and say, 'Hey guys, I missed my flight and this is what I'm doing.'" So her having lack of communication skills, I mean, I think a lot of us can be guilty of that. Sometimes we just don't wanna bother people, so we're like, "I'll figure it out and just get there when I get there." But it's probably better to just pick up the phone, send a group text, say, "I missed my flight. I'm gonna be arriving late or whatever. Expect me at this time." Because people actually maybe they care about your well-being. They don't know what's going on. If something's happened to you, they want to know. So now Julia, flip flopper, pot stirrer, says she's not going to give Lisa a pass. She is not going to give Lisa a pass because she's late. She feels that Lisa was rude. A simple message would be common courtesy, and she is just not going to give Lisa a pass for not even communicating. I think she's fair on that. Lisa should have told the organizers, "Hey, I missed my flight. I'm going to be late," because they put her in the plans, right? And maybe there's a cost associated with the plans. I'm not going to make it because I missed my flight. Communicate. Then Larsa wants to change the subject. She's like, enough about talking about Lisa. That's another good friend, right? Because Larsa doesn't like that her friend is being talked about when the friend is not here. And they change the subject. And Marisol brings up the subject of, well, when we arrived, it seemed like there was this sort of different energy. Lars is like, "What energy? We had a really nice time. There was no energy. We had a great time on the plane. We partied, this, that, and the other." Then Marisol continues with, "Well, Julia comes up to us and says that you guys have been talking about Alexia. Alexia knew what they said about her because she repeated it at the table." And Larsa said it wasn't a weird vibe. And she's just explaining what Stephanie was trying to say. Stephanie was saying she's trying to get to know you. It wasn't anything mean. Alexia feels that Stephanie tried to get to know the other girls, but for her, Stephanie judged her since day one. And Stephanie's like, that is not true. And Alexia's like, when you sat me down at the pool house at Marisol's house, I thought you were going to tell me about why you couldn't take me on the plane. But instead, you told me all these defamatory and lies about me. You don't even know me. How can you accuse me of belittling people to make myself feel good? And Alexia tells her, you're new to the group. You're not going to come into this group and try to change the dynamic and make me look like somebody that I am not. You're just not going to do that, Stephanie Sojo. Stephanie did not like that. She didn't take too well to that directive. So you know what she said? Stephanie says, you're not going to tell me what dynamics I'm going to change or not going to change. Let's get that straight. Let's start there. B, I'm so sorry that you're offended. Sometimes the truth hurts. Ooh, these girls are not playing. Alexia says, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And Stephanie says, Stephanie Sojai. And Alexa says, bitch, well, I'm Alexia Napola. And Stephanie says, I think you're very insecure. Alexia says, no, I'm not. You're the insecure person. The insecurity is yours. I don't need to be insecure. I'm very secure in who I am. So Stephanie's like, yes, you are. You go around saying, I'm Alexia. I'm Alexia. Queen of Miami. She didn't say the Queen of Miami part, but you know, you can just get that vibe. That's where Stephanie's so just going. She's like, bitch, I'm not scared of you. I'm going to tell you exactly who I think you are. Meanwhile, the other girls are like, Julia is like freaking out. Julia's like, I mean, Julia, isn't this what you wanted? Isn't this what you wanted? I think Julia's like, oh, these two, I didn't realize this was going to go this bad. What have I done? What have I done? Now I've totally messed up with Stephanie. She's not going to let me back on her flight. And Alexia, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? You can see her expression. Look at her expression. Alexia says, my confidence bothers you. Thank you very much. My confidence bothers you, Stephanie. That's why you're coming for me like this. I'm a confident, successful person. Well, Alexia, the thing that we're a little bit confused about the confidence is because when it comes to Todd, you're not that confident. So maybe Stephanie's like not seeing you the way you're seeing yourself. Because she even told you, it's like, he's trash. He treated you like trash, and you're still like, please pick me, please, Todd, please, Todd. Hello. So Stephanie says Alexia is jealous and it's a disease and she needs to see a therapist. Alexia's like, jealous of what? Alexia's fuming. She does not like this. She is pissed. Meanwhile, look at Kiki's face. So Adriana says Alexia doesn't like people who don't bow down to her. And if somebody comes in the group with youth, beauty, and more money than her, this threatens her. And she doesn't like that. And that she feels is what's happening here. That true, guys? You think Alexia is jealous of Stephanie or insecure? I don't know if that I would say Alexia is that. I feel like Alexia is having a really hard time because this whole Todd thing is bothering her. And then she's not sure how her life is going to go. Who's going to take care of her? Who's going to pay her bills? Who's going to establish her as a desirable woman when you don't have a man, right? Like a lot of women define themselves by the men they have in their lives. And if you don't have a man, it means you're not creme de la creme, you know? I want to have, all of this because money and success was very important to her. So I feel like if the situation was reversed, where her husband Masood was leaving her, Stephanie wouldn't just sit there and be like trying to get Masood back. She would be like running the businesses, trying to secure the bag for herself and believing that she's an empowered woman and can make it on her own. Whereas Alexia feels like helpless. And I think that's the difference between these women. I think that they're both very strong women, but Alexia doesn't seem to know how to survive without a man. And that's probably something she does have to see a therapist about. And then meanwhile, Julia is saying, "Oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. If I knew just a simple hello, how are you? We've been talking about you would lead to this fight between Stephanie and Alexia. I wouldn't have said anything. Julia, you are not that stupid. You cannot tell me that you didn't know this was going to lead to that." So Alexia says, "You think you can buy people with all your riches?" And Stephanie says, "Did I buy you?" She's going around to the table saying, "Did I buy you? Did I buy you?" And then Kiki says, "Give me a Hermes." Okay, Kiki, this is why people don't like you. People think you will sell your daughter for money. Ah, Kiki, no, why did you say that? Kiki says she's not taking any sides. She's team Kiki. She's enjoying herself. Alexia says, "You're hanging the carrot at who's gonna ride on my jet?" Like, like everybody has to fight for that. I agree with Alexa on that exact point. That was so tacky for her to be like, "Who's gonna ride on my jet?" She either could have said, "I have 4 spaces. I'll put things in the bag, and I want, something like that." Not make it feel like I picked you. Like she didn't even pick Gertie. How is Gertie supposed to feel? Like she's not included? Do you see what I mean? So Alexia definitely, I think she got a point for that one. And then Stephanie's trying to say that's not what she was doing. It's exactly what she was doing. They ask, "Do you get exhausted with your life?" And Stephanie says, "My life is perfect." So then another point for Alexia because Stephanie told her, "I never said to you my life was perfect. But Stephanie, you give off this allure. My life is perfect." And we know nobody's life is perfect. But you talk about how much you and Masood are so in love and you have this perfect home and this, that, and the other. It gives a sense, an air of everything is perfect. The only thing that you have spoken about, which I guess was a weakness, was your relationships with your siblings, that you don't speak to them. And it also seems to be it was about money. So, money is very important to you and you define yourself by how much money you have. You like the way money smells. You always talk about money. You talk about your Birkins, your jet, your this. Um, do you need to talk about it all the time if you're not insecure about that? Right? It's like, why is that who you are? I think that's what Alexia is trying to get at. So it looks like these two women are the same. So Stephanie says she's upset because Alexia called her name. Alexia called her a kiss ass, a big head, and that she has trust issues with Masood. Alexia mad because Stephanie came after Todd, told her that Todd was trash, and that when God takes out the trash, she needs to move on and not go into the trash can to go get it. Alexia did not like that. That she doesn't know anything about her Todd, and it wasn't Stephanie's place to tell her about Todd, even though Stephanie feels she's telling her because she's coming from a place of, "Girl, you can do better. Girl, you're amazing. You don't need that guy," right? But it was probably too soon for her to tell Alexia that when they just met. So Alexia didn't appreciate that. And so they both agreed that they got off to the wrong foot and that they will start all over and that they're both able to let things go and start fresh. The heated dinner ends rather well with everybody making up. Um, and Stephanie and Alexia, that is, coming to a happy place where they're like, "We will probably be really great friends one day because now we've cleared the air, we've said what we've had to say." And Alexia feels that once she's done that, get everything out, she can move on. Stephanie is from the same family. She says, "Once I get everything out, I'm ready to go." And cheers, everybody. Peace is had. And they make a toast to clearing the air. All right, guys. How many people think this is going to last? Okay, so Lisa finally arrives 23 hours and 47 minutes late. She checks in. She wants to know where Marisol's room is. and, they give her her room, and, she's ready. She's probably gonna be the next target. The air is cleared between Stephanie and Alexia. Now we have to get to Lisa versus the entire team, okay? So that's gonna be a tough one for Lisa because everybody's mad at Lisa. So Lisa goes to Marisol's room, and there's Alexia and Marisol sitting. Don't ask me. I've had a hell of a day. I had to travel all by myself in a country where nobody speaks English. I had all these bags I had to carry. I finally arrived. I just want to have love, light, and positivity. Don't start grilling me about what happened and why I didn't do X, what I didn't do. Why didn't you call? Da, da, da. I don't want to talk about it, but you know these women are not going to let it go. She's like, what did anyone lose with me not being there? Who cares? Why do you care what happened to me? She says. So Lisa says that something's going on with her, and when people know, they're gonna feel like assholes. She doesn't care. Fuck them. Something's going on with her. That's it. So, guys, what did you think about this episode? What were some of the highlights for you? I think we covered a lot of ground, and I'm glad Stephanie and Alexia had their showdown that gave us some good drama. The fashion was okay. I wasn't too impressed by much of the fashion. And that was about it. But leave a comment below. What did you think? Did you like the episode? Do you think Stephanie and Alexia are going to be one day good friends? I don't know. Let's see. But I enjoyed Stephanie this time, minus her bullshit about all the money she has. And I'm glad Alexia pointed that out. I'm also glad that Stephanie pointed out the things about Alexia. The two black girls didn't say much today. They were like, you know what? Let's just be quiet. Let them have it out. Julia was being Julia. And Adriana, I like Adriana in the show. She offers some reality, and she's not afraid of calling these women out for who they are. Thank you guys for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you are aware whenever we drop the video. If you like this format, leave it in the comment. We'll do it more. I think I like it, watching it and commentating at the same time. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.